Hello, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates, and I have a video for you today I think you're going to find very interesting. I frequently get requests for advice from people via email all over the world, and I really am hesitant to give much in the way of advice because I don't know them, and I don't know the people that they're talking about. So I'm really afraid I'm going to give bad advice. So I rarely, I'll respond and say I really can't help you unless I get to know you and we have some sessions over Skype, and then I can accurately, give some feedback. But this gal has asked me several times for some help, and she said she wanted a video about epiphanies, about what she calls counterdependent narcissistic misogynistic men. So there's your title of your video: Epiphanies about counterdependent narcissistic misogynistic men. And what I'm going to do is I've changed the identifying information in this video so you won't know who it is or where she lives, but I'm just going to read her very powerful email to me, and then I'm just going to respond to it and respond to her directly. We're going to call her Debbie. So Debbie writes, I wish someone would do a video or a blog on epiphanies. I've had so many in my recovery work, especially recently. I have a good therapist. It has been 4 months since my particular counterdependent narcissistic misogynistic man walked out on me. I had been doing so well and was so strong until recently. Suffice it to say, realizing, and maybe I did know deep down, that I am attracted to and repeating the same pattern of my childhood is, well, devastating. My mother is a borderline histrionic narcissistic. And this is the difficult part, painful part. She left me at a bus station when I was in the 5th grade after years of emotional and verbal abuse with the words, I should have had an abortion instead of having you. I had you to please your father, who was and is still dead. I won't go into the years of abuse and the years after when I was hoping to die. I got alcohol-free when I was 19. Suffice it to say, I am now 45. I tend to date men who are older than me and lawyers. And ironically enough, my father was a lawyer. I now see what I have done, and I am ashamed. My abandonment issues are massive, and I feel they're insurmountable. I am suffering a setback, a realization that I intentionally seek men that will be cruel and who will abandon me. I am a codependent. I bend over backwards and sideways so as not to be abandoned, and yet I'm still abandoned. I am not trying to sound like a victim, and I don't think so far she has sounded like a victim. I don't like this. At some level, this is my fault. But I was with my counterdependent narcissistic misogynistic fellow for 12 years, and he walked away like I didn't exist 4 months ago. His life seems dandy, wine, women, and song. You said in one of your blogs, when someone tells you who they are, the first time, listen to them and believe them and protect yourself from them. Here are some things he said, and I just wasn't hearing him. He would say, I'm here. I don't have to be here. You can be replaced. No woman is ever going to control me. He would also say, this is my fucking fiefdom. You don't have a say. I control everything. This is similar to my mother in the sense she was more like, I can get rid of you at any time. And she did get rid of me. Anyway, I was doing well, progressing in therapy, and then all these damned epiphanies came. And finding out that he's moved on as if I didn't even exist. I'm a person. My faults, my issues, and no, I wasn't a jealous codependent. I was, ashamed to say, a doormat, turning a blind eye, ignoring his infidelities. My issues are my responsibility. I get it. But at some level in big capital letters, she says, you don't treat another human being that way because it's sick. Okay, now she's starting to sound like a victim. I hear my fault, or my therapist saying, this is not your fault, kiddo. He is sick, let it go. You have your issues, but so does he, and they are scary. More than I want to say, I won't let you get back with him, even if he tried, the therapist said. I'm not going to let it happen, which isn't really appropriate. But you are smart, successful, loving, and loyal, too loyal. You got this, and you got better, and you are better than this, and you don't deserve this, no matter what your issues. So what now? When will he be humbled? When will he have a setback? Because he never seems to. I'm having a setback. Back to the basics. Eat, sleep, don't drink too much. And trying to get it in my head that I'm not a failure and that I'm worthy of love, coming from my therapist. Sorry this is so long, but I need you to know, what do you do with a setback? Are all these epiphanies? I dated my parents. How awful. And I want to crawl into a hole. When will he be humbled? If I gave you his name and you would Google him, you would find him on the local TV interviews. You know, a wealthy attorney. And me, an alcoholic, a welfare mother, and a job that really doesn't make me a lot of money. I was successful when I met him. I know I sound like a victim. This is nothing compared to him. And boy, do I know it. He was big and I am small. I knew that every day. So thank you for your insight, even if it hurts, and I am struggling after doing so well with these epiphanies. And he is so not humbled. How do I deal with this setback I was going through? Please do a video on setbacks or epiphanies. God bless, and thank you for your work. Bless you and your fiance and your associates. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and respond to Debbie. And thank you, Debbie, for putting your pain out there. First of all, I can't believe it's me saying this. I don't like the labels narcissist and misogynist, because any kind of book that is about those, they tend to pathologize the man and say, your problem is that crazy woman-hating narcissistic counterdependent man. And he's not your problem. Ironically, he's actually part of your cure. So I gave the blog the name, or the video the name I did. One, because it'll probably get a lot of hits, and two, because that's what she was wanting to name it. But I would never name it that, because the focus is too much on the man. This isn't about the man. This is about Debbie's childhood, and my heart breaks for Debbie. 5th grade, dropped at a bus stop. Mother says, "I wish I would have aborted you, only had you because, of your dad," and then she leaves her. Oh my God. That is just horrific and abusive and horrible, on so many levels. And that's her problem. She's just deeply, 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 deeply wounded, and that isn't really gonna change anytime soon. So what I would have her do would be to eliminate all victim thinking, and actually to develop a gratitude for the experience. Let's call this fella Bill. Bill, the narcissistic, counterdependent, misogynistic fellow. And so I want her to quit focusing on Bill and probably stalking him on Facebook and seeing if he's on the news. Let go of Bill. Bill's in the past. What can you learn from your time with Bill? And Debbie did try to reenact her relationship with her father, him being older and a lawyer, and with her mother, him being so critical, so mean, and so abandoning. But and the epiphanies aren't the problem. If it is true that you grow up and you reenact your family of origin wounds in your love life, you need to know it. and knowing it is a fabulous thing. It's not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. It's a wonderful gift. Now the system, basically somebody as abandoned as Debbie, frankly, is sort of screwed from the get-go. She's going to have a pretty horrific love life where she's abandoned in the worst way possible because she was so deeply wounded from the very beginning. But that's the beauty of recovery, is we don't all start in the same place. Debbie was more severely abandoned than most people I work with, but we grade on a curve. So as we move forward, then Debbie can, when she's ready to engage in dating again, recovery dating is you take it really, really, really slow, and you go into it already knowing. I mean, the problem is you're attracted to who you're attracted to. You walk in a room and you look over at one fella and your heart goes pitter-pat. You look over at another fella who fits the demographics of who you want to be with, a really nice guy who would never abandon you, but your heart doesn't go pitter-pat. I mean, most of us want to date people who make our heart go pitter-pat, right? And who we find physically attractive. So it is what it is. So I would say there's 3 things that you need, Debbie. You do need to be attracted to a fella. And if you're attracted to a fella, he's going to have some of these same qualities as your mother and your father and Bill. The second thing you need is some time. So I don't believe in falling in love and getting married a year later. I believe in slowly falling in love and maybe getting married 6 or 7 years later and spending the whole time in therapy if you have abandonment issues. Now, if you don't have abandonment issues, maybe pull it off in 5. But you still need to be in therapy because there's a whole lot of work to do. So the third thing you need is you need a partner who can do the work. I don't believe Bill here was ever going to be capable of doing the work. So I'm going to share 5 qualities. I've shared these on some of my other videos, but here's 5 qualities you can tell. Ladies, if you're a magnet to these alpha male jerk types, here's 5 qualities that if they don't have, then if you recognize they don't have them, then you got to break up with them early on, because you're just going to get run over by a Mack truck if you don't. So the first quality is they have to be highly motivated to work on themselves, because they see the level of dysfunction that they themselves have, and they're disturbed by it. They get it. They get how broken and sick they are, and they're really driven to do some work on themselves. The second thing is they're teachable. Many times I'll get a counter-dependent man like this in, and he's a total know-it-all, and he's not open to anything I have to say, even in the first session, and he just reeks of arrogance, and you could almost reach over and touch the closedness of his mind. Yeah, that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. If you bring him to see me, he's going to hate me, because I'm going to get a baseball bat and hit him in his skull in the first session. He ain't going to like me at all. And he ain't going to like any therapist who tells him the truth about who he is. I won't shame him. I won't vilify him. I'll take some of those really vilifying labels off him. I'll give his partner 50% of the responsibility for the issue. So really, I'm actually the guy who's taking the shame off, but he's got to be willing to examine his counterdependency and his narcissistic traits, or he's not going to be a good candidate for therapy, and he needs to have the courage and the strength to examine his family of origin issues. So the third issue, or the third quality that you have to have, is you have to have a lot of pain. And a lot of these fellas have been pain avoiders their whole lives. They're workaholics, they're sex addicts, they're alcoholics, anything to numb the pain, to make the pain go away. And they're telling themselves that, their childhood is over, and those first 2 marriages, it was the woman's fault, and there's nothing wrong with them. And as long as they drink and work and, engage in sexual addiction, they're not really feeling the implications of their addictions and of their dysfunction. So you have to have a lot of pain, but it cannot be victim-y pain. It cannot be, it isn't my fault, it's her fault. You have to embrace your pain and have it be like a bubbling brook, like a spring river right through your heart, just bubbling up. And I was talking with a fellow the other day in group, and he says his pain comes up pretty frequently, and he'll have a good cry, and it just cleanses out his soul. And I thought, that's awesome. That's how it works. The pain bubbles up, and it gives you a cleansing, and it's cleansing, part of your childhood. The fourth trait is you have to have the ability to trust a therapist and to trust somebody else's opinion. If you read a book, you got to be able to trust the author. And these fellows don't tend to do well with trust because they already know everything. They already have all the answers. And then the fifth thing is following up with actually reading a book and perhaps even going to group therapy. So, ladies, if your new fella won't come to therapy, you got to cut him. I mean, you got to break up with him. Got to be done. When he comes to therapy, if he don't have these 5 qualities, you got to dump him. Run as fast as you can. Not because he wasn't a good match for you in terms of attraction, simply because if your goal is to be heard and to be respected and to be seen and to have power in the relationship and to build an interdependent partnership, the fellow that you drug in doesn't qualify because he doesn't meet those 5 criteria. So Debbie sent me this last paragraph as a response and as permission for me to make this video. One last thing, I now see him not so much as the big bad lawyer in charge, but as a wounded little boy having a temper tantrum with his own abandonment issues. That sounds like a lot of men. I may have demonized him some. At some level, as you say, we pick each other for all of our issues, and at some level we were right for each other. All I want to do is get healthy, but he really doesn't. To quote him, he says, you aren't the messed up one here, I am. That's usually not how they leave. They usually say, you're messed up and I'm not. But I like my life the way it is, he said. So you say, as you say, it's his world and I was just allowed to live in it for a while. And yet he still asks his friends and family about me. For someone who likes his life the way it is, it seems to me to be pretty miserable, hiding it in women, motorcycle riding, and running around. Thank you for all your insight blogs, videos, and books. They really are helpful, even if they and my therapist have brought me to this place of epiphanies and setback. No, Debbie, your epiphanies are not setback. They're advancement. It just feels like setback. She says, I don't like being in this place. Thank you and God bless. And that's part of this recovery process, is embracing your pain and accepting it as your lot in life, and not blaming it on other people, not blaming it on the therapist, not blaming it on the epiphanies, but just seeing it as moving forward and getting healthier. Life's hard. I wish life wasn't so hard, but it is. So there you go. These narcissistic fellows are a blessing. That's how you benefit from your interaction with them. And if you're single, that's how you can avoid getting run over by a Mack truck. Find one you like who can do the work, and then slowly do the work. Well, if you haven't joined our channel, Family Tree Counseling at YouTube, then do that. We have a new intern who's almost an associate, Debbie Smith, who made her first video this past week, and I thought was very good. Had very good composure, good message. And, of course, Andy Holzman and the superstar of our video channel, Jerry Wise, are all on there. We're up to, I think it's 224 videos and like almost 162,000 views. So also visit our website, familytreecounseling.com. I do have a book on abandonment issues. If you have abandonment issues, you must read it. Managing Abandonment Issues Through Recovery. Get it on our website, familytreecounseling.com. I think it's the best thing ever written on day-to-day crazy dance abandonment issues. Also have a book on shame, fair recovery, marital issues, the basics of recovery, and on male counterdependency, which is really what this video was about. It's called A Punch in the Nose, or maybe it's called A Punch in the Mouth. I think it's called A Punch in the Mouth from a friend. And that's what these narcissistic counterdependent misogynistic fellows need is they need boundaries and assertiveness and truth that punches them in the mouth and hopefully wakes them up, gets them in recovery. Thank you for watching. God bless.